Got some hot chips on. I mean, I'm not for big government. I'm not your ideal real Republican per se, but I do understand what they're saying about Democrats being like communists and the fact that they're for big government. Being in Texas, most people will know we're not really for big government. We don't really want the government spying. We don't want the government having too much control. And that just goes from the beginning. You know, the sign said patriots. Well, that's how this country is going to be. Whether you're a Democrat or Republican, even if you're a Democrat, you're still going to agree with some of those things. As a Democrat, you're going to be against of totalitarian control of a government. I'm going to stop right here. Right? Even if you're a Democrat, you're going to agree with some of those things the Republicans are talking about. Not that I'm a major Republican or anything like that, but I do think, I'm a big believer, that I do think that the government has gotten out of control because of social media and a bunch of other stuff. And Americans will keep their freedom. You know, they're going to keep their freedom in one way or another. They're going to protest, whether on the Democratic side or not. And what's weird is the very radical Democrats or the radical liberals, they'll actually carry a communist flag and claim to be a communist. The problem with communism, why it doesn't work, and the problem with socialism is because it's totalitarian. It's total control. Totalitarian. Total, right? The government tells you who to worship, basically. We don't do that in America. See, in America, there's a separation between church and state. And that's what those signs were talking about. Trump would agree to, he agrees with separation of church and state. There's a private sector. There's a line that we draw. John Bunyan even talked about in Pilgrim's Progress. Apollyon was a representation of probably a government, an evil government. And when that government goes across that line, then we tell them to back off. That's what America is about. Us knowing that there's a line there. You can come into our church to worship, but if you come in your church and you're going to bring abortion, and you come in your church and you're going to try to lock up Christian males that maybe don't make enough money for their statement that they want to see, right? Meaning they want you to pay a certain amount and they're going to lock you up. We're going to rebel against that. We're going to say no. So I do claim to be a Christian. I do understand the Democrats. I do understand what they want, and that's fine. But I'm not for abortion. I'm pro-life. So I'll do what I can to protect those that want to be born. And I think there is an invisible Holocaust. I think that's going on. And I think people are naive to it. And I think abortion should be more strict. And in some cases, in some states, should be against the law. So that's what these people are really saying. They're saying there's a line that we're drawing. And that line represents freedom. The Republican parties, a lot of them, they don't want to be controlled. Not by a total government, right? They don't want complete freedom, because no one can have that completely. Not completely, There are certain regulations. But it gets out of hand, especially when you start messing with the poor. And you could still be poverty-stricken and understand the Republicans. Democrats are only going to get so much. But ultimately, I understand both parties. I understand the Democrats, they do want certain things, and I understand the Republicans want certain things. I understand that. But ultimately, I think the Republicans are making sense by saying we don't want to be controlled by a big government. I do agree with some of that. I think sometimes it gets out of hand, but I do agree with what they're saying. I've been seeing that a lot in this area, and also signs for Trump 2024 and things like that. Our character is flawed, so we're all going to have problems with our character. I think that was one major problem with Trump, was that he showed his true self too much, and he got in trouble for that. And why is Biden wearing sunglasses all the time? I'm just curious. Is he a helicopter pilot? I was just wondering about that. I saw a speech Biden was giving. He's wearing sunglasses. I don't know. I didn't think it was that sunny when he was giving the speech. But anyway, y'all have a good day. That's actually a Buc-ee's bag. Let's see this. There. we got one at Thai Monkey, and we're getting there as quick as we can. It's odd because the Thai Monkey is located over here. It's saying that it was on James Street, and the Thai Monkey is actually over here, deeper in Roanoke. That's a Hawaiian place. So they did something similar in Louisville, where you have to drive down the road and then mark it as arrived, and then you have to drive to the restaurant. That's what I'm doing right now. Pretty strange. This sign gets worse and worse every time I see it. Well, I said it would take 20 minutes, but they're able to complete the order, so I guess it worked out. So Apple Books said, "Congratulations, you've met your daily reading goal." I'm still reading the sample of The Storyteller by Dave Grohl, Tales of Life and Music. I think I'm going to hold off on buying the Dave Grohl book. Maybe one day. I did read the sample. I liked it. I don't know. I kind of got the whole idea behind the sample. Sometimes I don't buy the book that way. You know, if I understand how the book's going to be from the sample. But it looks really good. It looks endearing. You know, I'm sure I'll probably end up buying it eventually when things are a little bit better. Just so I can get the information on Kurt. That's probably what a lot of people say. Like, what does he say about Kurt Cobain? Yeah, and it's kind of bad. It's like when I met Ethan Hawke. You know, like, oh, you hung out with River Phoenix. You know, with Ethan Hawke when he was younger. That's what people used to say to him all the time. He probably feels like always second fiddle to the lead. You know, the lead vocalist of Nirvana. But you know, Foo Fighters, they're still around, so they're a pretty good band. I'll probably buy it someday. I recommend it. I think it's probably... So I'm assuming they probably finished the order at Thai Monkey. This guy's kind of purple. Giant skeleton's kind of creepy. All right, this is a pretty big order. I'm gonna get the bigger bag. And we're gonna keep on going. Kind of walk in. Oh, chicken steak, dumpling, fried rice, bobo, ice cream, yum yum. Appendages, you know, just kind of. All right, let's go pick up our food. Oh, we got it. I just noticed that foot. Man, that's pretty amazing. Ultimately, I'd buy the book if times were better right now. You know, this Dave Grohl's The Storyteller, Tales of Life and Music. I think it's good. I recommend it. It's from his own voice. Any writer that can do that, can write from their own voice like that, is a pretty dangerous writer. They're a pretty good writer. Because he's just, you know, he's speaking in his own tongue. He's speaking in his own voice. Probably his drumming was the same in Nirvana, too. That was probably his, you know, his own drumming. And Foo Fighters is his own creation, too, you know. It's amazing that people can really be that brave. But anyway, can't get it right now though. Times are too tough. Now, if you did it for $5.99, or maybe I could find it.
Watch out! Vehicle on shoulder ahead.
You know, maybe like we have a place called Half Price, so I might pick it up and just kind of see what the gossip is, what's going on. I'm sure there's some good moments in the book. Looks like he worked on it pretty hard for a rock star. Pretty impressed, because I read Tarantula by Bob Dylan. Man, that one is not exactly a biography, but that one's way out there too. I started reading that when I was at the Carrollton place, and I was reading that and some Greek philosopher at the same time. Some weird stuff. Weird stuff. We've got some really good information. Reading is a powerful thing when you read. was a Greek philosopher that I was reading. It was like Aramis or something like that. I wish I could remember the Greek philosopher. It was Roman. It was a Roman philosopher that I was reading from at the time, and reading Tarantula at the same time. It's Bob Dylan's Tarantula and some Roman philosopher that Trish recommended that I read. It's probably on one of my older phones. Aramis or something like that. He was the Roman philosopher that said, our bodies are like vines and we throw them away and go forward, kind of thing. The body is not kind of throw that away. And I can't remember the philosopher's name. Aurelius or something like that. It's Roman. I want to say Aurelius or something that sounded similar to that. If you know, leave a comment if you know what I'm talking about. Marcus Aurelius. That's the Roman philosopher that I was reading. With Tarantula, I was reading Tarantula, Bob Dylan's Tarantula, and Marcus Aurelius. So I remembered it. Well, I had to look it up, but I was able to find it that way by kind of saying it and remembering it, kind of hearing it. So I was able to still find it. Marcus Aurelius. His name was Marcus Aurelius Antoninus. Marcus Aurelius was the last of the 5 good Roman emperors. He was a Roman emperor and philosopher. So there were 5 good ones. If you know the 5 good ones, leave a comment. But he was one of the 5 good ones. Marcus Aurelius was also the last emperor. Marcus Aurelius was the last emperor of Pax Romana. Romana. He was a Roman Empire. Marcus Aurelius was a Roman emperor, or his Roman emperor that was during a time of peace. So he was writing during a time of peace and represented peace and things like that. Marcus Aurelius served in 140, 145, and 161, and it was a time of peace and stability. Okay, I gotta figure out. Oh wow, these are really nice houses. I had to drop off this Thai monkey. It's like $100 order. Look at that right there. My goodness. Could you imagine having this comfort? My goodness. It's a long road right here that gets to your house. I mean, if there's only one house, this is actually a neighborhood. But if you had like one house, I mean, this road that went a long ways to finally got to your house, like that Foxcatcher guy in that Foxcatcher movie. Anyway, we'll be there in a minute. I mean, wouldn't it be cool just have this long road? You had security everywhere. There'd be no problems with parking ever in your life. You'd have all these guards around all the time. You just feel so secure and safe, Look at it, like this house right here, I mean, still stuff can go down, just like the Foxcatcher guy who ran off and hid in the tank, and they ended up pulling him out of the tank. Look at this yard right here. Kind of spooky. Oh my gosh, look at this house. That's pretty awesome right there. Pretty cool. This neighborhood's actually really cool. Let me get the name of it. I was talking about Marcus Aurelius before I drove in here, the Roman Empire. Pretty much what this is. You can smell cedar right now. Their fireplace is burning along with their soul. I thought that moon looked really cool right there where the house is. That one's 1360. I'm looking through 1310. The one next door to it is 1312. Hope they respond. Alright, it's gonna have to probably be these people. Even though it says 1312, it says 1310, so I'm gonna have to find out. Well, this is the one Google's showing, so It shows a photo of the house, so it's the closest one. Pretty nice house too. Freaking hackers. All right, so this is on the tail end of Randall Mill, which is kind of where I was raised, but not in a neighborhood like this. We didn't have it this nice, but we had it pretty nice compared to some. This is called Westwick Hills. It's on the edge of Westlake and South Lake, right off Randall Mill. Not too far from where I was raised. Well, we got another order, so we have to move on. Actually, it was down the road from where I was raised. I was raised in this house right here. One right there. We're on, well, that was Randall Mill. This is Davis Boulevard. So they kind of took Randall Mill and they just cut right through it straight ahead. That's what this is, Davis. Sorry about this, Sun Kill Moon, but I'm listening to Radiohead. Radiohead. I like that song, Nude, Radiohead. It's a pretty good one. I don't know why Sun Kill Moon disses on Radiohead. I mean, after all, they're a band. I mean, all in all, they're a band. They're just a band. They're just people making music. Like they did anything really wrong. Maybe they did. Maybe they called up Mark Kozalik and said, you know, Sun Kill Moon, blah, blah, this. I don't know. You never know the conversations these rock stars have with one another. Well, the app said 1310. I reviewed it several times, and I texted them. They just now gave me a photo of their address, which is interesting. I don't think they wrote the address. I asked to give them, I texted them and asked them for the complete address, to text me the complete address. So we're gonna have to go back. But at least we got it now, so better late than never. So we're gonna try to hurry up and get these people their food. That's the sound of me trying to get to the other destination. This is what happens if you don't put the correct address. Now, it's going to affect you in one way or another. I've dealt with ordering from Uber Eats and stuff like that myself. I'm not using them right now. But you want to put that right address because the person can't be trying to guess or second guess or look out for text, because that can do a lot of damage by putting in the wrong address. I think the app highly recommends that you put in the correct address using all the correct numbers. So he's off by 2 numbers, but it's at the other. Well, he was nice enough to leave the tip, but they do that. It's not the first time this has happened. They will do that to you. So what they'll do is they'll say, and you got to remember this, they'll say, come and bring it to us, right? Okay. What you want to do is stay in contact with them, because they'll run over there and get it. But he gave me a tip, but it's cost a lot of damage for my next 2 orders. So this doesn't really cover the next 2 orders that I've already had to add on. Does that make sense? So they'll do this to you. They'll say, oh, it's the wrong address. And I don't know why they give the wrong address. But he went over to the neighbors and he got it. But you have to realize you got to put the right numbers in, or we're going to be running all over the place. And I went to the neighbors to see if it was there, and it was gone. So I knew that they had got it, because I left a message saying where it was left, which was at the neighbors. Because the address was 1310, his was 1308. The other neighbors was 1312. This is on Fanning Street. So you gotta kind of realize that when you leave the message and where it's dropped at the neighbors, they'll probably go and get it. But keep in contact with them and ask. He didn't text me to tell me that he got it. He didn't text me and say that I went over and got it. So I went over to make sure that he got it, but then I realized he did it. But he was nice for covering the tip to go back another 10 miles. I was kind of a little bit like, please call us and tell the driver that you'd gone and picked it up, because we have to go way out of the way. In this case, I have other orders, so it's kind of damaging, but oh well, at least they got it. So it was a big order. It was like $100 order. So I had to go 10 miles out of the way to make sure the order was secured. So the order was secured so we can move on to the next order. But you want to make sure that you go back, because it could have been still at the other neighbors, but they went and got it for me. They just didn't tell me that they had to go get it. So he was 2 numbers off on his address, and that's what will happen, exactly like that. They'll say, well, come and bring it to us, and then you'll go all the way there, and then they'll go and get it themselves. And that is kind of a waste, right? That represents something. That represents something. It's just the hospitality of saying, don't worry, we'll pick it up. Those words are going to save gas and be more efficient and less cruel to the driver, okay? To text the driver and say, look, don't worry, we'll go over to the neighbors and get it. Even the address was put in wrong. So it wasn't 1312, it wasn't 138, it was put in 1310, which is between it. So Google shows it as the other house, the one that's closer to 1312. So I thought it was maybe a side house or whatever. But anyway, we figured it out. So it was a big order, that's why I ran back for it. If it was a smaller order, I probably would have moved on. But that was a big order, so I had to make sure it was secured. All right, so we're good and we're moving on. So now the Thai monkey is saying US 377, and it's not saying James Street, which is over off of 377, is where Thai monkey is. It had me going earlier on a pickup and pay order over by this Hawaiian place over here. So it finally got it straight, and we're gonna go pick up that order and then go back to Thai Bistro, because they're working on, I guess, remaking the order or something. I don't know, because I had to spin back around to South Lake and drop off. Well, I didn't have to, he had already picked up the order. It was unnecessary return back to the address, because he just didn't text, oh, we already got the order, we already picked it up. He said, my son went over and got it. Right. I'm glad that his son went over and got it. I'm glad that that's what he got to do and got to tell me and everything. That's a wonderful thing. But that's what I had to go through on that one. So, but I guess it's not that big of a deal. But to me, it's, I'm responsible for these things. So, but I'm glad that they picked it up. So now I'm going over to this one and picking up this one, and then I'm gonna head back to Thai Bistro. So we're doing a lot of jumping back and forth this Sunday. She did say, though, Linda did give me a text saying Sundays are crazy. That's what she said in the text. There's the Roanoke Courthouse right there. There's Baja Cantina. Heart 8's right here, so I'm pretty sure that Thai Monkey is this direction right over here. Let me see. Yep, I can go through the back way. And there is a train. We got some cinematic quality on this drop here. Yep, this will be the back way to Thai Monkey, which are right on time. We're about 8:05. Well, about 4 minutes, but still that's good enough for them. Okay, so I'm gonna park actually right here. I'm just gonna run in through there and grab it. Hopefully this bag will do. Again, we'll try it again. There she goes. Thank you. Well, I had my name on it, but it doesn't matter if it's the driver's name or their name. these like lights that sound activated or something. All right, so now we go to Bistro. Pick up the other. This was really cool. Italian Bistro. I thought it was really neat about it. They had a little before and after. That was the old Cafe Italia. And that's the new Italian Bistro. So it's like a before and after kind of thing. So it'll get better and better. No balance. Just like that. Okay, Italian and Thai monkey. There's a lost cat right there. And stray cat. We do not have a cross street right here. But it's outside of Justin. We're gonna get the cross street. That cat was on farm 407 in Sage Drive. Okay, so we're headed to the next one. There's a Ghostbuster one over there. Looks pretty cool. Thai monkey. We're in Justin right now. Well, that's a wrap. I got another message. Hang on just a second.